The Tupolev Tu-2 was a twin-engine Soviet high-speed daylight and frontline bomber aircraft of World War II vintage. The Tu-2 was tailored to meet a requirement for a high-speed bomber, a dive bomber, with a large internal bomb load and speed similar to that of a single-seat fighter. Designed to challenge the German Junkers Ju-88, the Tu-2 proved comparable, and was produced in torpedo, interceptor and reconnaissance versions. The Tu-2 was one of the outstanding combat aircraft of World War II, and it played a key role in the Red Army's final offensives, design and development. In 1937, Andrei Tupolev, along with many Soviet designers at the time, was arrested on trumped-up charges of activities against the state. Despite the actions of the Soviet government, he was considered important to the war effort, and following his imprisonment, he was placed in charge of a team that was to design military aircraft. Designed as Samolot 103, the Tu-2 was based on earlier An-58, An-59 and An-60 light bomber prototypes, essentially, and upscaled and more powerful An-60 powered by M37 engines. The first prototype was completed at factory N156, and made its first test flight on the 29th of January 1941, piloted by Mikhail Nukhtanov. Mass production began in September 1941, at Omsk Aircraft Factory No. 166, with the first aircraft reaching combat units in March 1942. Modifications were made based on combat experience, and Plant No. 166 built a total of 80 aircraft. The AM-37 engine was abandoned to concentrate efforts on the AM-38F for the Il-2, which required Tupolev to redesign the aircraft for an available engine. Modifications of this bomber took An-58 through An-69 variants. A further 2,527 aircraft were built at Kasan with these modifications. Production ceased in 1951 after a total of some 3,000 aircraft were delivered to various Soviet bloc air forces. Operational history. Built from 1941 to 1948, the Tu-2 was the USSR's second most important twin-engine bomber. The design brought Andrei Tupolev back into favor after a period of detention. Crews were universally happy with the Tupolev S's. Pilots could maneuver the aircraft like a fighter's, it could survive heavy damage, and it was fast. The Tu-2 remained in service in the USSR until 1950. Some surplus Tu-2s were provided to the Chinese People's Liberation Army Air Force for use in the Chinese Civil War. Some Chinese Tu-2s were shot down by United Nations airmen during the Korean War. In the 1958 to 1962 counter-riot actions in the 1959 Tibetan uprising in Qinghai Tibet Plateau covering Qinghai, Tibet, southern Gansu, and western Sichuan, Chinese PLAAF Tu-2s took on the roles of ground attack, reconnaissance and liaison. The Chinese Tu-2s were retired at the end of the 1970s. After World War II, the Tu-2 proved to be an ideal test aircraft for various power plants, including the first generation of Soviet jet engines. Variants. Aircraft 103. The initial three-seat version. Top speed 635 km per hour at 8,000 meters. 1044 kilowatts. Mikulin AM-37, 1941. Aircraft 103U, redesigned for four-seat crew. Top speed dropped to 610 km per hour. It used the same engines as the An-58. Aircraft 103 volts, as Ant-59 but powered by air-cooled Shvetsov Ash-82 engines after the AM-37 was cancelled. Aircraft 104. Tu-2's modified for interceptor role. ANT-62T torpedo bomber prototype developed from the Tu-2D. And-63 high-speed day bomber prototype. Long-range four-engine heavy bomber project developed from the Tu-2, cancelled in favor of Tu-4. Also known as Tu-10, airliner variant of Ant-64, 5-seat long-range bomber similar to Ant-62 but powered by Cheromsky ACH-30BF diesel engines, 1946. Tu-1, prototype 3-seat night fighter version. Tu-1081 kilowatts Schwitzov Ash-82 with bigger drag, 1942. Tu-2D, long-range version. It appeared in October 1944. It had an increased span and a crew of 5 aviators. Powered by Tu-1380 kilowatts Schwitzov Ash-82 FN, 1943. Tu-2D high-altitude reconnaissance bomber version developed from the Tu-2D, powered by two turbo-supercharged Mikulin AM440K engines. Tu-2F photo reconnaissance version. Tu-2G high-speed cargo transport version. Tu-2K only 2 aircraft were built for testing ejection seats. Tu-2L Tu-2S modified as testbeds. Tu-2M powered by two 1,417 kilowatts Ash-83 radial piston engines. Tu-2N engine testbed, built to test the Rolls-Royce Nene turbojet engine. Tu-2 Paravan, 2 aircraft built to test barrage balloon cable cutters and deflectors. Tu-2R reconnaissance version. Tu-2RSHR prototype, armed with 57mm cannon in the forward fuselage. Tu-2S powered by two 1,380 kilowatts Schwitzov Ash-82 FN radial piston engines, 1943. Secretive night fighter prototype developed under leadership of the NKVD special section of V. Morganov and P. Kuksenko, equipped with the Soviet NIS-5 radar. Armed with two NS-45 autocannons. Development presumed to have started in 1943. Precursor of the Tu-1, Tu-2SH experimental ground attack versions. 2 variants were tested in 1944, one with a 76mm centerline gun and another with a battery of 88 7.62mm PPSH-41 submachine guns fixed in the bomb bay, directed to fire ahead at a 30-degree angle. Another version under this designation was tested in 1946. This one had a frontal armament consisting of with two NS-37 and two NS-45 autocannons. Tu-2T torpedo bomber variant was tested between February and March 1945 and issued to Soviet naval aviation units. Tu-2U trainer version. All-weather interceptor prototype. Reconnaissance prototype, 1946. Tu-8 long-range bomber based on Tu-2D, 1947. Tu-10. It was a high-altitude variant that saw limited service, 1943. Medium-range jet bomber prototype, 1947. UTB bomber trainer with Schwitzov Ash-21 engines of 515 kilowatts created by the Sukhoi OKB in 1946. Operators. World War II operators. Soviet Union Soviet Air Force. Post-war operators Bulgaria Bulgarian Air Force, China People's Liberation Army Air Force imported 33 UTB-2 and 29 T-2U trainers in the end of 1949. The last 4 UTB-2s retired in 1965. Imported 311 Tu-2 from the end of 1949 to 1952. The last 32 Tu-2s retired in 1982. Hungary Hungarian Air Force. Indonesia Indonesian Air Force. North Korea North Korean Air Force. Poland, Polish Air Force, Polish Navy, Romania, Romanian Air Force, Soviet Union, Soviet Air Force, aircraft on display, Bulgaria, Bulgarian Museum of Aviation, Tu-2 Tactical Number 27, China Military Museum of the Chinese People's Revolution, Beijing Chinese Aviation Museum near Beijing, Poland, Polish Aviation Museum in Kraków, Tu-2s used for testing ejection seats, Museum of the Polish Army in Warsaw, Tu-2s used by 7th Independent Dive Bomber Regiment, Russia Central Air Force Museum in Monino near Moscow, USA War Eagles Air Museum in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. Specifications. Data from General Characteristics. Crew 4, length 13.80 meters, wingspan 18.86 meters, height 4.13 meters, empty weight 7,601 kilograms, loaded weight 10,538 kilograms, max takeoff weight 11,768 kilograms, power plant 2 times Schwarzkopf 82 radial engine 1,380 kilowatts each. Performance maximum speed 528 kilometers per hour, range 2,020 kilometers. Service ceiling 9,000 meters. Rate of climb 8.2 meters per second. Wing loading 220 kilograms per square meter. Power mass 260 W per kilogram. Armament guns 2 times 20 mm fixed forward firing Schwack cannon in the wings, 3 times 7.62 mm rear firing Schkass machine guns, Berezin UB machine guns in the canopy, dorsal and ventral hatches, bombs 1,500 kilograms internally and 2,270 kilograms externally.